to Malvern Books. We're so glad to have you here for our reading tonight. No Love Signs, so we're in for a treat tonight. And I am here to introduce you to our first author. Daviau is the author of the novel Every Anxious Wave. Her nonfiction has appeared in The Offing, The Toast, Nailed Magazine, and McSweeney's. She's hard at work on her third novel, as well as on her latest project, a dating and relationship advice podcast called No Love Signs. Mo lived in Austin for a long time, but now she lives in Portland, Oregon. Join me in welcoming Mo.
Hello! Audience largely composed of friends. I love that. I'm going to read a mopey essay that I just had published on this website called marchvladness.com. Every year, this guy named Andrew Munson, who lives in Arizona, does this bracket competition against March Madness, and it's a different adness. And this year it was Vladness, songs that are goth. It's a music writing thing. So get ready to be bummed out. The song that I was assigned was called Procession by the band 45 Grade. You don't need to know the song. You can just sit back and be goth with me as I read this. I got my March Vladness song assignment an hour before the man I'd been seeing for a month took a lift to my neighborhood to break up with me face to face. Such gestures are rare in Portland, Oregon. We are a passive people, and the truth was, I would not have cared much if he had done the deed in the text. In fact, not having to see his gaunt face one last time might have been the greater kindness. He came over to give me yet another loss. We hadn't even dated all that long, but I'm not young anymore. I have all this love to give, and it seems that no one wants it. Love comes with responsibility. It isn't asking for nothing, you know. How much death will you experience by your 40s? In my case, my father, whose death continues to haunt me 27 years on, a pretty good for a while marriage, a handful of friends and acquaintances. This is the age when you must begin to steel yourself for more death. Parents, mostly. And the friends who smoked or drank too much or couldn't face down another day of bullshit, so found a bridge or a bullet just to make it stop. What then is love without the specter of death? In the days that followed this mediocre breakup, I forced myself to listen to my assigned song. I'd never heard it before. My goth phase as a teen was limited to a few months of black eyeliner and wearing a Cure t-shirt I'd found at a record store. I liked the Cure and the Smiths and Echo and the Bunnymen, but goth never really appealed to me much beyond that. I had every reason to go there and stay there, though. I'd been mourning my father since I was little, since before he died. He was 65 when I was born, old enough to know from my baby days that he wouldn't be around for the adult version of me. He and my mother chose to saddle me with this permanent sense of loss. They never saw it that way, of course, and looking back, I think I threw the black eyeliner away because I didn't want people to think I was turning his death into the dominant feature of my personality. Dinah Cancer, great mother of death rock, her name sounding like dying of cancer, she's alive, wails the song Procession from the Grave. She's written that much of 45 Grave's music was inspired by Italian horror movies. Indeed, there's a sort of campiness to Procession that doesn't sit well with me. The song makes me feel like I'm in high school again watching a midnight showing of Rocky Horror Picture Show. Death and the rock subgenre that celebrates it is all about the show. Death is a pageant, a procession, but it's also a sense of relief in putting it out there, the need for death to be seen. In 45 Grave's performance, there is a reminder that there is some kernel of life force. I was in my late 30s before I got close to dying for love. 5 years later, I still struggle to make sense of what happened, how this and that added up to abuse, added up to 2 separate PTSD diagnoses that manifested in my amygdala's unstoppable danger alert whenever I drive down Hawthorne Boulevard, the street where he and I spent so much time together, added up to the years-long crater that exists at the center of the recent history of my life. What I remember, though, is how in love with him I was, fully, way, way too much, all my heart and then some. Photos taken of me during those heady first few months of our relationship show my face with cheeks so red I glowed like a neon sign. I'd never been so in love with anyone. A year later, after he'd thrown me away, I couldn't eat. I lost 15 pounds. I took a selfie of myself at the airport flying out of Portland to go stay with my mother. My face looked gaunt, my eyes haunted. Those 2 weeks at home, my mother yelled at me to stop crying. I was ruining my face. I was aging myself, she said. What did he do to you anyway? But I wasn't aging myself. He had sent time screaming in the other direction back to my teenage years, specifically the year my father died. In the strange, barely describable explanation of what he had done, I tried to figure out that one of those things he did was recreate the death of my father in my head. What might belong to an Italian horror movie was happening, and I couldn't shut it off. That old grief I thought was long settled, that thinner body I hadn't missed, he had given back to me, and then he sat back and watched me burn. He made me into a horror show. I first wanted to die laying face up on the bed, listening to the tick, tick, tick of the ceiling fan in the bedroom of a friend's house where I'd gone to stay. My brain could no longer process the passage of time. I thought death was the only way back to normal. What stopped me from actually killing myself was the fact that the ex, ever known after as the abuser, would have loved it if I had. That was his big prize, a girl killing herself for him. He could spin the story in so many ways. Mo was crazy. I tried to help her, but I couldn't. She did it to draw attention to herself. He would tell that story to all the women who fell into his clutches after me. He would say I did it to hurt him. He would tell them that he had no sympathy for someone who would act in such an infantile, selfish way, and that I was infantile and selfish. And I knew it, so I didn't do it. And later I found out that the other woman he had broken down so low, had made the same choice for the same reason. Dead girls can't sing, even if they give themselves names like dying of cancer, even if they meet their sorrowful wailings with anger, even if they're the queens of death rock, even if they spend 40 years singing the same song. The thing about dying for love is that if you actually do it, it makes a terrible story. While we can enjoy the stench of tragedy as it pertains to loss, actually dying of love, either by your own hand or some Romeo and Juliet type circumstances, well, nobody likes that song very much after all. And maybe you just want attention, and maybe that's okay. And maybe that's why this whole goth aesthetic thing exists in the first place, as a bid to have others bear witness to your humanity and therefore your pain. You can't actually die for this to be satisfying to you in a way. You can only die symbolically. You can only be a white face floating around a graveyard. You can only be a ghost in a procession. You can only throw away a name like Heather or Marianne and call yourself something that sounds like a fatalistic pun. You can only throw away all the things that you think make you unlovable and leave your body intact so that you don't miss the rest of the show. You can find yourself one day in your 16-year-old body forced to relive the death of your father 20-something years after the first time because you loved the wrong person so hard he left lesions in your brain that you will come to accept as permanent. You will mourn the woman you were before. You will endlessly search for her. You will want her back. But you'll know she's gone forever. I searched the photos of myself before I met my amuser for who I used to be. She was beautiful. She wrote a cool time travel novel. She had hope and swagger and knew her worth. And I wonder, if I were still her, would there still be something more lovable about me? Would I still be getting weak-ass breakups that leave me crying on a street corner with all my untouched, unwanted love? Did that guy just not want me because I'm not the whole, unbroken me anymore? Did he see that I'm just a ghost? Did the sum of my sorrows scare him away? Did he think I was dead? Dead with so much love and still alive, that kernel of life force still so strong? Thank you. Bummer! That's at marchbladness.com if you want to read I cut that down for time a little bit if you want to read the rest of it. You